what I see is that, in the Indian society currently, a son doesn't trust his own parents, a brother doesn't trust brother.
Trust is something quite divine, that it does not depend whether the other person is trustworthy or not.
But like if this day, if I meet a thief or a scamster,
Hmm.
right, and if I trust them, they will just take my money and run away.
Whatever had come to your hand had also come from somewhere,
True.
and it has gone somewhere. That will create attraction into your aura, and that will attract more and more trustful people around you.
Hello, namaste, sat sri akal, adab, and khambagadi to all the viewers and sadhaks who are joining us on this enlightening journey of Sakshi Shree Wisdom Podcast with the host Sakshi Shree. I am Dheeraj Madan. I am an IITian and MBA from IIM Lucknow. I have traveled across many countries for both corporate work and my personal passion of exploring different places. In my interaction with thousands of individuals across the globe, I have never come across a personality like Sakshi Shree, whose clarity on spirituality and his dedication to social work I have found is unparalleled in the modern world. Guruji, thank you so much for inviting me on this series of talks, tough questions with an IITian.
Wonderful. Welcome, Dheeraj.
Thank you, Guruji. Friends, these questions might be tough for you and for me, but they are certainly not tough for Sakshi Shree himself. Sakshi Shree is a visionary, a spiritual mystic, and a social reformer who works to spread the message of conscious living throughout the world. He also works to awaken the world one soul at a time through his work in Science Divine Movement. He also leads the Science Divine Foundation, which works on various social initiatives like education for underprivileged kids through Jhuggi Jhopdi, Shiksha Seva Mission, Annapurna Seva for Poor, and Swasthya Seva. So, Guruji, let's start. I have a lot of questions in mind, but I would rather have a honest conversation with you. I will just start with a simple question, and I'll see where it takes us. Would that be okay?
Yes, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Guruji.
We love it.
So, Guruji, diving right into it, my first question is through my personal journey and whatever I have learned on this path of spirituality, I have found that enlightenment is a very complex thing to even understand for humans. Throughout human history, there have been a handful of individuals who have got this thing called enlightenment. What I have understood is after this phenomena happens, there are two choices for every individual who does this, right? First one is that some individuals might take a path of seclusion. For example, we see many yogis who live in seclusion in Himalayas just to enjoy, I guess, their journey of spirituality and meditation. And maybe, they don't want to be associated with this complex world after they have found something new and good, right?
Mm.
Second path I have seen, which has been taken even lesser by individuals and enlightened souls. Example comes into mind of Gautam Buddha, Guru Nanak, Osho, who took this path of guiding others in this pursuit of enlightenment and attaining something beyond yourself. So my question to you is very simple but also complex. Why did you, Guruji, choose personally this very difficult path of guiding human beings in this pursuit where humans are so much involved in their mind and they don't even believe in this unexplored dimension, right? So as per me, this is a very difficult thing. Why did you choose to do this?
Quite interesting, Dheeraj. But first of all, I must tell you, when people say and talk to me they just start addressing as to when I achieved enlightenment. In this regard, I have first of all to tell you that it is quite ridiculous to say that I achieved enlightenment. In fact, it is a misnomer. All talk of achieving enlightenment happens to be a misnomer. Simply because every human being is born enlightened. It is our very nature. So, if you have got something with your birth, you cannot say that you have achieved it.
Right.
It is simply a realization that I am an organic part of this whole universe.
Okay.
And you see, this realization gives you a feeling of unity, a feeling of oneness with the whole. It seems as something is vibrating within me, and that is the center of the whole universe. And you may say, I find myself as a part of the whole, or I may feel as if I am the whole itself. In other words, it is also to me a realization of the simple truth that everything is happening in this existence. We are not the doers, we are only seers. And it is the infinite intelligence of this existence that is doing everything. And once you have this realization, you come to understand that all our misery, all our worry is simply a byproduct of our mind. Otherwise, our life in itself is absolutely blissful. And I want to tell you that the key to enlightenment is only to develop an understanding of the mind. Once you understand your mind fully well, you will achieve freedom from the worries and miseries that are created by the mind. And you see, the only art and the only science that can serve as a key to understanding your mind is the art of witnessing. And all other things which have been popular in the spiritual world in the name of meditation, mindfulness, awareness, prayer, worship, all these things, they are nothing but simply devices of being in a state of witnessing.
Okay. Okay. Very beautifully answered, Guruji. As I said, it is a little complex to understand for a person like me who is not there yet. It is very clear in your mind.
Uh, but as you asked me the but as you asked me, another question associated with enlightenment is as to why I chose the path of guiding others.
Yes.
In fact, once I experienced that state of freedom from worries and miseries, I had an intense feeling that people in this world are unnecessarily suffering. Everybody is in a state of tension and turmoil. People are living in this world as if this world has become a hell.
Hmm.
Life has become a trouble, life has become a struggle for every single individual on this earth. And I find people groaning in pain. And just as it may happen to you, just as it may happen to anybody, it happened to me. There was specifically no big philosophy behind adopting the path of guiding others. Suppose you happen to meet someone who is crying out of pain, he is suffering, and seeing his pain, you feel compassionate towards him. You know that you have got a right medicine that can cure him and provide freedom from his pain. Will you pass by or you will stop to help him?
Yeah.
If you pass by ignoring him, you will be filled with a sense of guilt.
Yep.
That is something that happened with me. I felt that people can easily be freed from the tortures and miseries they are passing through. So it was out of my love, out of my compassion, that I could not stop myself for not being available to them for helping them. And that is why I chose the path of guiding them. And you see, once I started living established within my own self, I felt that it was my inner responsibility. And this inner sense of responsibility to share everything that you have with those who need it, that motivated me to put one step forward in this direction.
Right.
And thirdly, I would like to tell you that perhaps I have some karma of my past lives yet to fulfill, yet to be completed. And that has created a desire in me, the desire of helping others. It simply means that something still remains to be done, something still remains to be accomplished
Mm.
for fulfilling those karmas. And for that, I have to do this job of spreading my experience to more and more people. And that is why I'm trying to reach out to more and more people on this planet.
Okay, Guruji. Yeah. Very beautifully answered. What I have understood is enlightenment is not something to be achieved. It is already there. It is just to be realized, right? That is why it is
Yes,
called
it has got just to be realized, just to be discovered. And for that, only conscious living is the
method.
device, nothing else.
Right. So that is why it is called self-realization.
Yeah,
That
that is why it is called self realization.
self-realization. Okay. Secondly, what I've understood is once, any individual gets to this level, I guess there would be, level within levels of this path, like staircases, right? Going up. And once you reach the topmost level, or, however you have experienced it, there is an innate need within the person to spread this thing which you have got, because you have got something precious and you're thinking that these individuals are suffering just like that, and that is why I get that there is this need to spread it. Third is very interesting, Guruji, which you mentioned, is there is this like cycle of unending karma, right? So I guess that was my first question was that some individuals would enjoy, I guess, if I am lucky enough personally to get to that level someday. In my mind, at least, it was there that I would also just take a vacation and enjoy it by myself, while you read the stories of Jesus Christ and Buddha and even Guru Nanak, and the difficulties which they faced when they tried to do this, right? There was so much resistance which they faced when trying to do this. So my second question is based on that, because me as an individual, who is in this path may believe it or may not believe it. So, it will always be difficult for you to go to the humanity and convince them that there is this thing which you should aim for, while we are all trying just to, go for material wealth and success and, fame, more or less, right now, by building reels or movies, etc., right? So I'm sure you must have faced also difficulties in your journey of spreading this movement. While you could have enjoyed the comfortable life, I know a little bit about your background as well, that you have been a civil servant in the past, so you wouldn't have any problem materially, and you got this spiritually also, so you could have just enjoyed the thing by yourself. So specifically, like, what kind of difficulties did you face, or an enlightened person faces, when you go to teach these principles to a humanity who doesn't even understand, because they don't know of this, and they don't believe in, they only believe, like, in money, power, other things.
Quite true, Dheeraj. As you yourself narrated, the path of spreading the message far and wide is truly very difficult. Not only difficult, but it seems impossible at the initial stages, because you may find it very easy to offer something to someone who needs it. But creating the need is very difficult. For example, you can feed bread and butter to any hungry person. But creating hunger,
Yep.
making him hungry, is a very difficult task. So the spiritual master has to play these two-dimensional difficulties. Every spiritual master had to face it, and I am also facing it. Providing food is easier, but creating the hunger is very difficult. Secondly, the most important difficulty that I have been facing is the material poverty of people. If people are lacking in bread and butter and shelter, when they are struggling for their livelihood, when they are struggling for food and shelter,
Yeah.
it is very difficult to talk to them about self realization.
Yeah.
It is impossible to talk to them about consciousness, blissfulness, and being identified with the soul.
Hmm.
And it is very rare that you can create hunger in the minds and hearts of those people who are struggling for material prosperity and riches.
Hmm.
And those who are already having material prosperity and riches, they are so much upside down into it that it is very difficult to drag them out of it. But no doubt, it is easier to drag them out rather than dragging those who are already struggling. The third problem is the problem of communication. Until and unless you communicate with people, how can you transfer the message?
Hmm.
People say these days this multimedia, this social media is available, and even through social media, spreading the message is not easy.
Not easy.
You keep on giving diamonds through the spiritual channels, but who bothers to listen to those diamonds?
Yeah.
And even for that, you have to take recourse to advertising your message,
Hmm.
to market your message. And for advertising and marketing your message, again you need huge funds,
Huge
because
lot of money.
everything marketable has been made very costly.
Right.
And the fourth dimension, the and the fourth dimension of my problem is that of communion with the people.
Hmm.
You see, the messages and informations of the material world are different from the spiritual message. Material messages can be communicated through words,
Hmm.
but messages of the spiritual experience and the spiritual world cannot be conveyed through words. For transmitting those messages to others, their presence is direly necessitated. Only in the presence of the master you can feel the message, and you can become receptive to it through your mind, heart, and soul.
Right.
Otherwise, words reach only through your mind. They reach only to your mind,
Hmm.
and they remain confined to your mind. It becomes very difficult to touch you at other levels of your being. That is why the role of the presence has been so much highlighted in the spiritual world.
Hmm.
The very etymological meaning of the word Upanishad is sitting in the presence of the spiritual master. Just by ensuring your presence with the enlightened spiritual master, you start receiving. So, in spirituality, you are required to spread your message in two ways: one through words, verbally, and the other is by ensuring your presence with those whom you want to transmit your experience. So, the problem of communication and the problem of communion,
It's very
these
important.
are the most significant obstacles on the path of spreading the message.
Hmm. Very well structured, Guruji. I think you have broken it down, so that even people like us can understand the problems.
Yeah.
You touched upon 4 points. I would have liked to, ask specific questions on all the points, but the point which I want to start with is the third one, which you said, right? That even to spread the message, uh, there is this struggle that you have to find newer and newer ways of how to reach the public.
Yeah.
Thankfully, in the modern world, we have now technology.
Yeah.
I think this is happening for the first time
Mm.
in the history of Earth, that we can reach so many people at the same time.
Quite true. Quite
Right.
true.
Earlier, I guess, Gautam Buddha would have to travel like village to village, city to city to do this task, right? But as you correctly pointed out, even, with the technology, you need to market it well, because there is so much competition in the market itself
Mm.
that people would rather choose an entertainment reel,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
someone dancing on the
Yeah.
Instagram,
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
someone play acting, and this message has to compete with that. So I understand, right, that you need huge push marketing funds,
Yeah, yeah.
etc.
Nobody bothers about Upanishads,
Yeah.
Vedanta, and the messages of the Gita.
Right, very very rightly said. So, and the second thing is,
But without doubt, Dheeraj, I would like to tell you that this 21st century, science and technology being on those heights, it is the golden period for us to spread spirituality throughout the nooks and corners of the planet. By using science and technology in right ways,
hmm,
we can ensure that greater majority of humanity has started living a blissful life, because whatever could be done in several lives in previous times without science and technology,
Hmm.
what could be done in one lifetime in previous times or in many lifetimes, that can be done in months and years.
Hmm.
Now, the science of spirituality has been developed to that extent that, if made available to people in right manner,
Hmm.
they can be benefited and they can be transformed so easily that within no time the face of the whole humanity can be changed, and this beautiful planet can be made more livable.
Hmm.
And if it is not done, I want to warn the whole humanity that the humanity is bound to die with its own hands. A great disaster is looming large,
Hmm.
and that is also a byproduct of the growth of science and technology to these heights.
Hmm.
The struggle and warfare which is going on between Russia and Ukraine and
Yeah.
around the Palestinians. Anytime any situation can flare up into a world war, and that can become a single point of destruction for the
Yeah.
whole humanity.
Yeah.
If any undesirable situation of this kind happens, then humanity will not be able to be saved.
Hmm.
So that has become mandatory on the part of every conscious individual to take recourse to spirituality. And I have to say this to everyone, that at least everybody must spare some time to be with his own self. Spirituality is nothing except being with your own self. So learn the art of being with your own self
Hmm.
at least 1 hour out of 24 hours, and then you will yourself start experiencing something which is so tasteful, which is giving you the taste of the other world.
Right. Yeah. So, Guruji, really think it is possible, you know, to do this thing of spreading spirituality, and where other people can come closer to what you have achieved, or what enlightened beings have achieved? Because what I see in the world, as you rightly mentioned, right, so I have a little lesser hope than what you have mentioned, because there is so many issues, like global warming, for example, one, right, that we are harming the earth so much that it may not be even possible after 50 years or 70 years, that we don't even know, and scientists have been warning this for 20 years, and no one has done a thing till. And now we have even started experiencing, in terms of, like, bad weather events, cyclones, earthquakes, so many things are happening, that we didn't even care about preserving the earth as it is, where it is giving us food, it is giving us shelter, it is kind of like the mother for us. And humanity, or humans as a collective, we didn't even care about it, because we just wanted, like, more and more things for us.
Have you ever been able to find out the reasons why we have not been able to do it?
I think mostly because the one quality which outshines everything else in humans, it is greed. So everyone is greedy, everyone wants everything for himself.
There are a number of reasons may be cited for
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
but the fundamental reason is that we have been living unconsciously.
Hmm.
And living unconsciously is the fundamental cause, the root cause of all the evils which humanity has been suffering since times immemorial.
Hmm.
That is why total emphasis has been laid on removal of ignorance and on the point of becoming conscious. One thing is information, and the other thing is awareness.
Hmm.
Awareness embraces all aspects of our life and living. It is not only outward information. Awareness means you are awakened to the moment. When you are awakened to the moment, it means you are taking cognizance of all the situations prevailing around you.
Okay.
You are utilizing the blissfulness of electricity and you are running your machine or factory and involved into high level of productivity.
Hmm.
But you are unconsciously using your machines and productivity manufacturing units if you are not careful about the pollution being caused through it. If you are not conscious of the environment disasters being created out of it,
Hmm.
you kept on blindly doing your high level productivity through this science and technology, and you did not bother about the repercussions.
Hmm.
You started manufacturing nuclear weapons, you did not bother about the repercussions. The whole humanity can be fed. This planet has so much of water, food, and other resources that the whole humanity can live like heaven. But 1% of humanity is living as a human can live in heaven, but 99% humanity is suffering and living in pain. Why? Just because of our unconsciousness,
Hmm.
just because of our unconscious development, just because of our unconscious use of science and technology. If we could use this science and technology consciously, entirely a different world could be created. And that is why it is fundamentally necessary first to understand the science of inner transformation
Hmm.
so that we can become more and more conscious being on this planet. Right from the early childhood, the science of conscious living through practices of inner transformation must be cultivated, and they must be made as part of education and as part of the life and living of every parental family, so that any family can go without food, can go without any comfort,
Hmm.
but no family should spend even a single day without going for meditation, without going for inner transformation devices. This inner transformation of this individual has become mandatory if we want to save the humanity and if we want to make the rightful use of science and technology
Hmm.
with the artificial intelligence and everything coming on the horizon on a very fast scale.
Right. I understand, Guruji. But my counter question would be that so many people uh, who have attained spirituality or even were divine throughout the human history and across religions, starting from Christ and Muhammad, Guru Nanak, even in Hindu religion, Sri Ram, Sri Krishna. Even recently, I would quote Ramanna Maharishi, Osho. All of them have tried to do this to spread the message, which I think you are also saying, right? It is inherently the same message of conscious living, and it was beautifully enumerated in our earlier scriptures also. But humanity is so smart that, once that era passes, or that person passes, they morph or transform the message, and then, use it for their own advantage, right? So even religions, as I guess, as it they were very powerful devices, but even those were transformed a little, and then they were used against the humanity rather than, to uplift them. So my question is, like, why do you think, like, it can succeed now? Because earlier it has succeeded a little bit, but it has never succeeded into conversion into a mass movement, right? And what support would you need to do this a little bit quicker, into a mass movement where, you will be able to raise individuals at a faster speed? And what is the specific role of a government should be to, to work on this also, along with the other things which it is doing?
No doubt your question is very relevant, because since time immemorials, enlightened masters have been making efforts to educate humanity and to bring them towards the dimension of their own inner growth, so that they can become more conscious and they can live a better life. But as you see, everything is in a process of evolution and growth.
Mm-hmm.
Even in matters of our material world, we have been growing, and through a process of evolution, now we have reached a much enlightened stage. Now we are harvesting greater fruits of our scientific wisdom.
Hmm.
Likewise, even in the field of spirituality and even in the field of inner world, the science of the inner kept on growing from the Vedic times up till now. It had many phases,
Yeah.
and with its gradual growth, now it has reached such a point that we can do away with a number of deficiencies and drawbacks which hampered the growth of humanity because of lack of inner growth. And the devices for inner growth have been sharpened, have been made more effective, and with the help of those devices and also with the help of science and technology, now we are in a much better position, thousand times in much better position, to ensure inner transformation and inner growth of individuals on this planet as a whole.
Hmm.
And that is why at every stage of the growth of humanity, same tools and devices have not worked. The tools and devices which worked 2000, 3000 years back
Yeah.
have become of no use for today. So, with the new devices coming through the experience of the masters of the present century, we can make greater use and we can make them available to larger and larger sections of society today, which was impossible earlier. So there is no gainsaying the fact that we are in a better position for our inner growth and inner transformation that
Okay.
we had been earlier. And it is on the basis of my own authenticity, I can say that if right attention is given, and for which I have been making all out efforts, so that all the ails of our spiritual system and spiritual approach, which has not been able to ensure success up till now,
Yeah.
can achieve greater success. For example, with all the organized religions, what has been happening? They simply remained confined to the observance of certain rules and rituals which got associated with that particular religion
Hmm.
or sect. And the fundamental message of inner growth, which this enlightened spiritual master wanted to give during his lifetime, was lost. Buddha himself wanted to impart the message of conscious living through meditation.
Hmm.
And he revolted against the spiritual practices of ritualism and unnecessary activities which were not going to yield any result in their life transformation.
Hmm.
That is why he stood against idol worship and all the rituals which were prevailing in those times.
Yeah.
But what happened with the followers of Buddha, the Buddhists? They started worshipping Buddha himself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the Buddhist temples, you will find 10,000 idols of Buddha. 10,000 idols of such a person who had been advocating all through his life against idol worship.
Yeah.
So, this had been happening with all the organized religions, whether it was Jainism or Judaism or Christianity. They fell victim to the organizational drawbacks, and ultimately, instead of doing any good to humanity, they proved as instruments of harming humanity. Ultimately, all these religions have today become a burden
Yeah.
rather than becoming a source of redemption. They have become a source of conflict and warfare, and they are proving to be a source of destruction. So, this has got to be particularly made aware to the people that religion is not something associated with the masses, it is associated with the individual.
Hmm.
And the individual of the 21st century, because he has been imparted education in science and technology, so try to wean out the truth
Hmm.
from the untruth, should try to wean out the meaningful from the unmeaningful. And that is what I have been trying to do through Science Divine, so that the essence of spirituality, the very science of spirituality, may be understood and imbibed by people rather than confining themselves to the periphery of spirituality or religions. And it is remaining confined to the periphery of spirituality or religions that all the ills of humanity are still surviving. And we need to destroy them on a large scale. And that is why this science divine movement has become mandatory on this planet in the 21st century.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense, Guruji. Uh, if I have to continue with this, in India, right, we are doing a lot to promote spirituality, and a lot of masters are doing real work as well, right? But I asked a question earlier also, like what role should government play in accelerating this journey? We are like the government is also doing a lot of work. For example, we have promoted yoga across the world, right? We also have now International Yoga Divas, correct? But even that has, again, as you said, right, that has got a little morphed. If you see, there are now different kind of yogas prevailing in our country itself. And when we move to United States and UK, there it has completely transformed. The yoga is not that pure yoga of connecting to yourself, but it has, they're doing like poses, etc. And everybody is putting content on YouTube of doing yoga, rather than yoga would have been a union with yourself, right, as a device, as you said. So what more needs to be done so that the messages don't get cluttered? Like, what is the truth? Because the untruth is so big, like it is a pile of garbage, and truth is sitting on top of it, right? So how do we bring the truth out of the untruth, even in, like, devices like yoga or meditation? So what my question is, what needs to be done by the government or by someone else to make sure that the people, the masses, are getting the right message, rather than this morphed reality?
Your question is very meaningful. It is a very difficult task how to wean out the truth from the chaff. And then, as you said, today International Day of Yoga is being celebrated,
Yeah.
and yoga is being prevalent all over the world. But what people are doing in the name of yoga is absolutely no yoga at all. Because yoga was aimed at inner transformation of the individual,
Hmm.
so that one can learn the art of getting established into his own being. And that was made possible through the eightfold noble path of yoga,
Patanjali.
and that was yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So, the last three dimensions of yoga, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, before that, the fifth step was pratyahar. Pratyahar means turning inward.
Yeah.
After turning inward, just the middle of the eightfold path, pratyahar, which meant turning inward. And after turning inward, you were to practice dharana, dhyana, and samadhi.
Hmm.
But today, people are not reaching that. They are also not touching the first two, yam and niyam. They are confining themselves only to certain asanas
Asanas, yes.
and sometimes to a little pranayam.
Yeah.
So, out of the 8 limbs of yoga, only asana is being practiced,
Yes.
and that too is being practiced as a part of physical exercise.
Yeah.
So, they don't know that they have to get anything more except physical fitness. So, yoga has also remained confined up till now as a means of physical fitness in this world. So, this awareness has got to be led to the masses, to every nook and corner of the country. How can it be done? This can be done. This can be done in 2 ways.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, by people like me who have dedicated their lives to spread awareness.
Yeah.
Just because these people have tasted something of the divine, something of the awareness,
Hmm.
something of the inner, which others have not tasted.
Hmm.
So, if we try to convince others, it becomes very difficult for them to digest.
Yeah.
They start interpreting and finding ulterior motives and meanings behind whatever is said to them, because they cannot understand that out of my own inner urge, I am feeling compelled to talk to them. Number one is the responsibility of the people who have experienced something of the inner, and they must come forward instead of sitting into silence at isolated places or on the Himalayas.
Hmm.
They should come down from the Himalayas and
Spread
work
it.
in the field for enlightening the people on the path.
Right.
And secondly, the governments can also play a vital role by introducing meditation as a compulsory part of education right from early childhood. Just as it took several years, rather centuries,
Yeah.
for the world to accept yoga as something meaningful. And that is why they could introduce it as international yoga thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, up to the 21st century, they could not understand the importance of yoga.
Yes.
If we could not impress it upon the world that yoga is of that value,
Hmm.
we have to impress the governments, not the governments of one country, but the governments of all the countries, that until and unless the movement of creating awareness and conscious living is introduced from the early childhood
Hmm.
into the lives of the people, this humanity cannot be saved. This message has got to reach the hair and heart of every person who is working for the government of a nation or for the international organizations. And once it reaches, just as yoga was accepted, I think this dimension of awareness, conscious living, and meditation, and the science of witnessing, all these things should be made available to the students right from the early childhood,
Hmm.
and the parents of students must also try to cultivate and imbibe it in their own lives.
Hmm.
My simple message is 1 hour of your life every day for your own self, the rest 23 hours
Hmm.
for everything that is needed.
Very beautifully answered, Guruji. I think you touched upon very important points here, right, which rung a bell in my own mind. First is you said about ulterior motives, like, when someone is trying to spread a message,
Yeah.
people have their own assumptions that, this
Hmm.
person might be doing this because,
Because of this, because of
yeah,
that.
because this
Uh,
person has to gain something from
yeah,
me,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And then you touched upon introduction of conscious living or meditation in education system. What my historical learning has been, Guruji, through studying of history, that a lot of things changed after the advent of Britishers in India, right, and through British rule. I guess first of all, there was a different education system which was being followed in India before the British ruled us, right? Which was in the earlier times, it was ashram system, where I guess some of these teachings would have been taught to the kids, right? And then they completely changed the education system, which was done by Macaulay, right? To, I guess, with the motive that how we can control the people of this country better, and rather than making them free individuals, why not introduce a education system which imposes like rules and regulations on them, right? And doesn't allow free thinking, and keeps a individual and their inner potential bound, rather than being free, where it was like earlier prevalent in the Indian education system. That is a deeper point. I would come to that. But coming to the point of the trust, right? I guess also this has changed a little bit before and after, India as a country was attacked first by Mughals and then by British people, right? It would have changed the psyche of the Indian people, that maybe earlier we were a trustworthy people. Before the advent of British rule, the statistic is that 27% of GDP of the world was coming from India, and post the British rule, it dropped down to like under 1%, right? So we were rich, and we were well to do, and we were also trusting people. That is why we trusted the British also, and invited them to our own country, and gave them everything, and then all this thing happened. So after that, and then modern times happened, and I guess the trust has eroded completely in the Indian society. What I see is that in the Indian society currently, a son doesn't trust his own parents, a brother doesn't trust brother, a husband doesn't trust his own wife, right? So there is absolutely no trust. Even a person doesn't even trust himself, his own inner potential, right? That what they can do. They're like doubt about others and about themselves also. So there is so much like trust deficit in our nation. I have given a little bit of background as per my knowledge, but as per you, why did this happen, and like what is the solution to bring it back now?
You see, trust is your intrinsic quality, and it is something which has got to do with your own inner growth.
Mm-hmm.
Trust does not depend on the outside or external situations. In other words, it is an intrinsic quality in such a way that you that it does not depend whether the other person is trustworthy or not. The trustworthiness of the other is not required for you to be trusting.
Okay.
What I would like to say, it is something which is unconditional. Unconditional is, by saying it is unconditional, I mean to say that it is part of your being.
Mm-hmm.
It does not depend whether the other person is trustworthy or not. If you have got trust within yourself, an element of trust is alive within you, then your makeup will be entirely different. You will be entirely something else. And once you have got trust, then your relationship with others will also change. Because with trust, you are entirely a changed person. Without trust, you are entirely a different person. It is only with trust in yourself that you can be a person fulfilling relationship with others. Otherwise, you can't have fulfilling relationship with others. As you talked of British times and the times before the Britishers, the Mughals or the earliers, the education system. Even before Britishers and even before Mughals, we were in no way much better. I don't mean that these exploitative colonial rules had no impact. They had their adverse impact
Yeah.
on our education system and growth. But we as a we as individuals could never become a nation.
Hmm.
We were largely concerned with our own well-being.
Hmm.
We never focused on our material growth and material richness.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
We just kept on trying for our spiritual growth and spiritual well-being.
Yeah.
That is why all our efforts on the outside world, farming ourselves to become a strong nation, could not materialize.
Hmm.
We were several nations within one nation,
Yeah. True.
and these colonial forces rather do one thing good, that they kindled in us the spirit of
United.
organizing into one nation.
Yeah.
And our organization, our being organized into one nation, can be taken as a contribution of the British rule in India. That is one thing. But the fundamental thing is, when we are talking of trust, trust should be taken as an intrinsic quality which need not depend whether the other person is trustworthy or not. The trustworthiness of the other is not required for trust being within you. And the fundamental cause of trust not being within us, what do you think is the cause behind it? That we stop trusting others.
We don't even trust ourselves. How will I trust others?
Why don't you trust yourself?
Because there is always this doubt in my mind that, whatever am I doing, is it right or not?
And all these things have come to you how?
I have no idea. Like,
Mhm.
maybe it was better in the childhood, but since, from the school era and, moving forward to college, etc., and even work, you're always in doubt, like, am I falling behind? Am I doing the right thing? Uh, what more I
Yes,
need to do?
yes, that is quite meaningful. There is, right from the very childhood, if you have been treated like this, that never trust people, the whole world is untrustworthy.
Yeah. Don't take toffee from strangers.
If from the very childhood you have been conditioned not to trust, if you have been conditioned to be distrustful of others,
Yeah.
then in due course of time, all through your life, you will start living a distrustful life. The distrust will get so much enhanced that you will not be able to trust even yourself. Whereas trusting yourself is the beginning of trust in your life. How can you trust yourself? That is the fundamental question.
Yes.
And the only way to trust yourself is to cultivate self compassion. At least be compassionate towards yourself, towards your own being.
Yeah.
At least respect yourself. At least don't torture yourself. The feeling of guilt which has been created in you right from the very childhood is the fundamental cause of all your distrust arising in you. Whatever has been done, you continue feeling guilty about it. Whatever has happened, you are always remorseful about it.
Yeah.
You did something, somebody said you have committed a wrong, you have been immoral, you have been sinful.
Yeah.
All these thoughts and emotions have been filled within you, and you have invited them within you. That is the root cause of all the distrust arising in you.
Mm.
But at the same time, I want to tell you that this trust can never be cultivated by effort, also.
Okay.
It can never be cultivated by effort or by your willpower. You cannot say, now I have taken a firm vow that I will be
Trustful.
trustful, trusting others,
Yeah.
and trusting myself. You cannot. This can happen only when you get rid of the doubts which continue prevailing inside you. And when you can understand and practice the art of letting go of things, you have to realize the futility of doubting everything. We have got a tendency to doubt everything and everyone. People say, learn to doubt. Don't take anyone as they say,
Mm.
as they seem, as they look, as you find. Doubt it. Why to doubt? It's all futile to doubt. It's all futile. How can you understand the futility of doubt? Without understanding the futility of doubt and without understanding the importance of letting go of things, you can never grow trust within yourself. If you continue doubting, you will create a hell inside you. You will never be able to be at peace with yourself. And if you start trusting people, if you start trusting things, if you start trusting yourself by being compassionate to your own self, if you start living a guilt free life, if you start practicing letting go of everything that has happened,
Mm.
entirely a new dimension in your growth will arise. You will experience trust arising from within yourself.
Right.
As I told you earlier, everything is happening in this existence.
Mm.
We are not the doers, we are only seers. So trust the trust the infinite intelligence of this existence.
Okay.
If you trust the infinite intelligence of this universe, which is the ultimate doer of everything, then one miracle will happen, that you will start trusting yourself, you will start trusting everything, you will start trusting everyone, even start trusting those who are unworthy of trust. And see the miracle.
Okay.
The miracle you will experience is this, that the person whom you have trusted may be untrustworthy for everybody, but at least for you, he will never prove untrustworthy. You will be the one person on this planet whose trust he will honor. And you will see the miracle that you will find that person as the most wonderful person of your life. You will yourself be amazed to find that this person whom I trusted had been so untrustworthy. Still, it was a miracle that he stood up to my expectations. He did not disappoint me. He did not disappoint me at all. So, this is the magic of trust. Try to grow it inside out and experience the magic out of it.
ठीक. Surely, I think Guruji, I will work on it.
Uh,
But again, this sounds like a little longer process, right? Of building the trust. Practically, though, like if I come
you
across.
see, it may not. It seems and sounds like that, but it is not like that. I tell you, once you start believing in the infinite intelligence of this universe, if you start trusting the infinite intelligence of this universe, you will find that you have started growing more and more conscious.
Mhm.
You will start growing more and more awareness within yourself. And that awareness, that consciousness, that state of relaxation which comes after being trustful to the intelligence of this universe is that miraculous energy which will develop trust within you and which will start creating miracles around you, that even untrustworthy people will start falling in line with you, they will start serving you, they will start working for you. And I have been experiencing this miracle every day and night. You also just take a step and see the magic.
I'll try it out, Guruji. But like if this day, if meet a thief or a scamster,
Hmm.
right, and if I trust them, they will just take my money and run away, and then I'll be just left with crying. Uh, that why did I trust this person, and they took all my money, and now then how will I feed my family, etc. So like, what is the right process to do this?
I, I was expecting this question
Yeah.
from you. I was waiting for this question from you. That is why, while talking to you a little earlier, I said that you will have to learn the futility of all the doubts, and you will have to learn the usefulness of letting go of things that have happened.
Mhm.
In continuation of the same, I have to say that because of your trust, suppose you have lost something,
Yeah.
still nothing has gone. Whatever had come to your hand had also come from somewhere,
True.
and it has gone somewhere. That the things of life are coming this way, going that way.
Mm.
Everything that will come to you will go somewhere. And this life, as it has been said, is full of sound and fury, ultimately signifying nothing. So, this ultimate truth should always remain in your mind, heart, and soul. That life is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Ultimately, everything has got to go down to the dust. Now the question is, the hard realities of life which you may face if you manage to lose something of great value because of investing trust in someone.
Yeah.
The only thing required at this moment, which I would like to tell you, is that one thing should be added with trust, and that is trust without awareness, trust without practicing conscious living is no trust. That is what I had been emphasizing from the very beginning.
Okay.
That it is an intrinsic quality
Hmm.
which comes when you start living consciously out of awareness. And if your trust is deprived of awareness, then naturally it may fail and it may create problems for you. So what you call trust, what people call trust, is very often mistaken.
Hmm.
It is not trust, it is not trust, it is greed in some form or the other,
Hmm.
taking the form of trust, which becomes a source of tension and trouble and provides you pain.
Hmm.
That is why I said trust is something quite divine that happens and grows within you when you start living more consciously
Consciously.
a life of awareness. Hope the point has gone through.
Yes, yes, a little bit, yes. So basically, then what would happen if I start living consciously? Is it like, through my instincts, I would know who to trust and who
Yeah,
to not?
through conscious living, you will grow trust within you in such a way that you will not be motivated by
Greed.
unconscious greed.
Okay, I understand. Yeah.
It is the unconscious greed which motivated some people for something and then it harmed them.
Hmm.
But once you are growing trust in you out of awareness,
Hmm.
then that becomes entirely a divine phenomena. That becomes entirely a phenomena that will create attraction into your aura and that will attract more and more trustful people around you.
Thank you so much, Guruji, for explaining this so beautifully. I think I have understood a lot about how things are happening in the country, and definitely on how we should approach our life and what things we can do to get a true life partner. Uh, Thank you so much, and thank you, Guruji.
So nice. Thank you so much, Dheeraj. My love, my blessings.
Thank you.